The royal family has erupted. Harry left his title wide open when he fled to California. The monarchy needed a replacement, someone to fill the void. And now James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten-Windsor has stepped up. But here is where the story explodes. While every headline screams about James accepting his prince title, the truth is far more shocking. He didn't just accept it. He made a choice that has sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. And the palace is furious. James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten-Windsor is the youngest son of Prince Edward and Sophie, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. He is the late Queen Elizabeth II's youngest grandchild, and on December 17th, 2025, he turned 18 years old. Turning 18 is significant for any royal, because under the 1917 letters patent issued by King George V, all male line grandchildren of a sovereign automatically receive the style of prince and the prefix His Royal Highness. That means James has had the legal right to call himself Prince James since the moment he turned 18. The question was never whether he could. The question was whether he would. And now, months later, we finally have the answer. According to explosive new reports, James has officially accepted his prince title. He is now legally and formally Prince James of Wessex. But here is where the controversy begins, because the palace didn't want this. King Charles didn't want this. And the decision has created a firestorm behind closed doors. To understand why this is such a big deal, you need to understand the history. When Harry left Britain in 2020, he left behind more than just his family. He left behind his title, his role, his place in the royal structure. He left a void that the monarchy has been struggling to fill ever since. Charles has been trying to streamline the monarchy, reduce the number of working royals, cut costs, modernise. That was his promise. But here is the problem. When you reduce the number of royals, you also reduce the number of people who can step up when needed. And James stepping forward now throws a wrench into everything Charles has been trying to build. Because James was supposed to be invisible. He was supposed to stay in the background. He was supposed to be the quiet Earl of Wessex who never bothered anyone. Instead, he has now claimed his prince title. And that makes him visible. That makes him relevant. That makes him a player in a game the palace never wanted him to join. Think about the contrast. Harry abandoned his title. He ran away. He chose California over the crown. James is doing the opposite. He is stepping forward while Harry stepped back. He is accepting the responsibility that Harry rejected. And that is what makes the palace so uncomfortable. Because every time James appears, every time someone calls him Prince James, the public will be reminded of what Harry gave up, what Harry threw away. That comparison is poison for the Sussex brand, and the palace knows it. Here is the detail that every other news channel is missing. James did not make this decision alone. He had a warning from his mother, Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, and Sophie has been very clear about her position on royal titles. Years ago, Sophie told the Sunday Times something that shocked royal observers. She said, and I quote, "We try to bring them up with the understanding they are very likely to have to work for a living. Hence, we made the decision not to use H titles. They have them and can decide to use them from 18, but I think it's highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. Those were Sophie's exact words. She believed her children would never use their titles. She raised them to be normal, to work for a living, to not rely on royal privilege. James's sister, Lady Louise Windsor, turned 18 in 2021. She had the same right to become Princess Louise. She declined. She remains Lady Louise to this day. So what changed for James? Why did he choose differently? According to royal commentator Richard Eden, James was not expected to follow the example of his cousins across the Atlantic. Unlike Harry and Meghan, who insisted their children be known as Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, James was expected to decline, but the reports now suggest otherwise. James has claimed his title. He is Prince James. So either the earlier reports were wrong or James changed his mind. Either way, the palace is scrambling to manage the fallout. Now let me talk about what this title actually means, because most people don't understand. James is currently 16th in line to the British throne. That is not close enough to ever be king, but it is close enough to be relevant. He is known as the Earl of Wessex, a courtesy title he received when his father became the Duke of Edinburgh. But here is the critical detail. James will never inherit the Duke of Edinburgh title. Buckingham Palace has specifically stated that the title will be held by Prince Edward for His Royal Highness's lifetime. After that, it will revert back to the crown. That means James has no major dukedom waiting for him, no massive estate, no automatic role in the working monarchy. So why claim the prince title? Why step into the spotlight when the spotlight offers so little? The answer, I believe, is strategic. James is positioning himself. He is making himself known. He is telling the world that he exists, that he is royal, and that he is ready. And that is a direct contrast to Harry, who spent years telling the world he wanted out. The palace should be celebrating James, a young royal who wants to serve, who wants to be visible, who wants to carry the family name forward, but instead, they are panicking because James was never part of the plan. The streamlined monarchy plan did not include him. And now Charles has to figure out what to do with a new prince who actually wants to work. Let me be very direct about the comparison that the palace is terrified of. Harry, born a prince, spent years complaining about it, wrote a book attacking his family, did a Netflix series exposing royal secrets, left the country, took his wife, took his children, and now begs for relevance while his brand crumbles. James, born with the same rights, raised to be normal, went to regular school, was told he would have to work for a living, turned 18, and quietly, without drama, without interviews, without Netflix deals, accepted the title he was always entitled to. Which one looks better to the British public? The answer is obvious. And that is why the palace is panicking, because the more James steps forward, the more Harry looks like a fool. The more James serves quietly and with dignity, the more Harry's tantrums look pathetic. The palace does not want this comparison. They have spent years trying to move past the Harry drama. They have tried to ignore the Sussexes. They have tried to starve them of attention. But James is a living, breathing reminder that royalty can be done right, that titles can be accepted without arrogance, that duty can be embraced without complaining. And every time the public sees James, they will think of Harry, and they will not think kindly of the Duke of Sussex. So what happens now? James is 18 years old. He attends Radley College, an all-boys boarding school in Oxfordshire. He is still a student. He is not yet a full-time working royal. But that will change. According to royal sources, the palace is now discussing what role James could play in the future monarchy. The problem is that the streamlined monarchy plan has no room for him. The plan includes William, Catherine, their children, Charles, Camilla, Anne, Edward, and Sophie. That is it. Adding James means expanding the payroll, expanding the security budget, expanding the public footprint. All things Charles has been trying to reduce, but can Charles afford to ignore James? Can he afford to push away a young royal who actually wants to serve, especially when his own son abandoned him? This is the dilemma at the heart of the palace panic. Charles knows that embracing James would be a PR win, a young, dignified, educated prince who stayed loyal while his cousin ran away. But embracing James also means admitting that the streamlined monarchy needs more people, that the plan was too aggressive, that cutting too many royals leaves the family vulnerable. And Charles hates admitting he was wrong. Let me close with this. James Alexander Philip Theo Mountbatten-Windsor is now Prince James. He has accepted the title that Harry threw away. He has stepped forward while Harry stepped back. He has chosen duty while Harry chose fame. The palace is furious, not because James did anything wrong, but because James has exposed the lie at the heart of the Sussex narrative. Harry didn't leave because the royal family was toxic. He left because he wanted money and attention. And James, by simply existing and accepting his role, has proven that royalty can be done with grace, dignity, and without complaint. The comparison is devastating, and the palace knows it. What do you think? Should James have declined his title like his sister Louise, or was he right to step forward? Comment below.